I want to talk to you about this idea of God's judgment on America. And God has, in the Old Testament, we find examples of how God has dealt with people and has dealt with nations. And we have an example of a city, two cities, that faced God's judgment. And it was judgment for sexual immorality and for sexual sin. And the cities were Sodom and Gomorrah. And we find this account in the book of Genesis. And there was sexual sin rampant in the city, particularly the sin of homosexuality. Okay, men with men, women with women. And God had determined to destroy both of the cities because of that sin. And there was a man named Abraham. He's the father of our faith. Abraham had a nephew named Lot who lived in the city of Sodom, and God wanted Abraham to know what he was about to do to that city. So he came to Abraham and he told Abraham, I'm about to destroy the city of Sodom. Your nephew is there. I'm letting you know that. And Abraham began to negotiate with God. And he said to God, would you, if there are 50 righteous people in that city of Sodom, would you hold off your judgment? And the Lord's answer was, yes, I will. And Abraham, I think, realized at that point that he hadn't, he shot too high. Maybe he could have got a better deal. So he said, well, how about if there are 40? If there are 40 righteous people in the city of Sodom, would you hold off judgment? God said, I sure will. And he said, man, I need to really get my sharpen my pencil, be a better barterer. He said, how about 30? And then how about 20? And then they landed, the last number was 10. Every time Abraham asked the question, God said yes. And he said, God, if there are 10 righteous people in that city, would you spare the city? And God said yes. Now let me tell you how the story ends. God destroys the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So the question becomes, why did he destroy those cities? Well, it's because of sin and sins of immorality, and I want to contend that's technically not why those cities were destroyed. It wasn't because of the unrighteousness that in the city, it was because of a lack of righteousness. There weren't 10 righteous people in that city of Sodom, and if there were, they would have avoided God's judgment. So here's what I want to say about America. And by the way, the sexual sin in America, homosexuality and all of that stuff, is only a part of it. It all started really back in the 70s when we decided to have a sexual revolution, and heterosexual sex began to become something that everyone could do whenever they wanted to, with whoever they wanted to, and we're still living in that world now. And how does America, can judgment be coming to America? I think it can. How do we avoid God's judgment? It's if there are righteous people in America that hold their ground. Who should those righteous people be? They should be people who know Jesus Christ, the church. So I believe that God has every right to destroy America, to judge America, and bring destruction on our nation. But if you and I, as followers of Christ, maintain our righteousness, particularly in the area of sexuality, if we do things God's way, a man with a woman, and a woman with a man, and waiting till we're married to have sex. You say, Joe, are you kidding me? You want us to wait till we're married? Yeah, and I know that most Christians don't even consider that. Maybe that's why judgment will come. But if we as God's people do the right thing and pursue righteousness, God just may hold off, or even America just may avoid God's judgment, because there are enough righteous people in this nation that would cause them to do that. I hope this message speaks to your heart. Let's be the people God called us to be, and let's help our country be saved and avoid judgment. God bless you. See you next time.